The door just closed. You're already in the car, or on the stairs, or halfway down the street, but your dog is still at the door. Not moving, not making noise, just standing there, listening to your footsteps get quieter. And then, nothing. Most owners picture their dogs settling down at this point, finding a spot, going to sleep. But researchers who have actually put cameras in homes and filmed what happens, minute by minute, hour by hour, have found something that most owners would find very hard to watch. What happens to your dog after that door closes is not what you think. And once you understand it, not as a guilt trip, but as a biological reality, the way you leave in the morning will change completely. Because there are 5 specific things happening inside your dog right now, and the order they happen in matters more than anything else.
In 2010, researchers at the University of Milan installed cameras in the homes of 23 dogs and left. They filmed everything. Vocalization, barking, whining, howling, began at an average of 3 minutes and 15 seconds after the owner's departure. 3 minutes, 15 seconds, before most owners have reached their car. But the vocalization was only the first signal. What the cameras captured underneath it was more significant. Heart rate had already elevated. Cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone, was already rising. Your dog's nervous system had shifted into a state of alert within the first 3 minutes of you being gone.
Not because they are dramatic, not because they are badly trained, because sleep is the most vulnerable state any animal can be in. And the one being whose presence makes sleep feel safe has just disappeared. Their biology is responding to a real signal. You left. That is genuinely significant information to a nervous system that evolved alongside yours. Now, here is the part that changes how you think about your morning routine. Researchers found that the intensity of that initial cortisol spike was directly linked to the emotional temperature of the owner's departure. The bigger the goodbye, the long hugs, the guilty voice, the drawn-out farewell, the higher the spike. You were trying to comfort them. You were, without knowing it, telling them that something worth worrying about was happening.
Here is something that will change how you interpret a quiet house. After the initial wave of vocalization, most dogs go quiet. And if you came home to silence and nothing was destroyed, you probably assumed they had settled. They hadn't. The cameras kept rolling, and what researchers found was that as barking decreased, panting increased. Heart rate stayed elevated. The dog had shifted from one expression of distress to a different one. The noise stopped, the physiological activation didn't. And there was a pattern to what came next. Every 23 to 28 minutes, a new spike. A renewed burst of movement or vocalization, followed by a quieter period, then another spike. Not settling, cycling.
The silence between those spikes was not calm. It was exhaustion between waves. This finding connects to something that Martin Seligman, one of the most influential psychologists of the 20th century, identified in his research on learned helplessness. When an animal experiences stress it cannot control or escape, it eventually stops reacting. Not because it has accepted the situation, because it has stopped believing that its behavior can change anything. A dog that stops barking after an hour alone hasn't decided everything is fine. It has learned that nothing it does matters. That is not calm. That is something we should be much more uncomfortable with.
So what do you do with this? The first thing that changes is the goodbye itself. Not because you should love your dog less in that moment, but because the science is clear about what a dramatic goodbye communicates to a nervous system that cannot rationalize it. A calm, brief, boring exit is not coldness, it is kindness in the language your dog actually speaks. No long hugs at the door, no guilty voice, no extended eye contact that your dog reads as something significant is happening. A simple, cheerful, see you later, delivered as if you're stepping out for 30 seconds, and then the door. The second thing that changes is what happens before the door. 15 to 20 minutes of genuine physical activity, a brisk walk, a game of fetch, tug of war, does something specific to a dog's neurochemistry. It burns cortisol before it has a chance to accumulate. It shifts the body from alert to rest. A tired dog is not just a well-behaved dog. It is a dog whose nervous system is primed for sleep instead of vigilance.
The difference between a dog that settles in 10 minutes and one that cycles for 4 hours often comes down to 20 minutes of physical activity before you leave. The third thing is the environment you leave behind. Dogs are den animals. A wide-open, empty house is not comforting. It is exposed. A small, contained space, a crate for crate-trained dogs, a corner with a soft blanket, a laundry room with a familiar smell, provides the physical anchor that a nervous system needs to feel safe. The fourth thing is sound. Not any sound, specific sound. Unpredictable audio, random TV channels, radio stations, anything with sudden volume changes can trigger startle responses that spiral into anxiety with no one there to de-escalate. Curated calming audio, soft classical music, nature soundscapes, low-intensity ambient sound at a steady volume, these stabilize the auditory environment the way a physical den stabilizes the visual one. And the fifth thing is the one most owners never think of. Before you leave, place something that carries your scent in their space. An old t-shirt, a worn sock, anything your body has been in contact with. Research has confirmed that your scent activates the reward center of your dog's brain, the same neural region associated with positive anticipation and comfort. Your scent tells their nervous system, this person exists, this person is coming back. It does not solve the absence, but it makes the absence feel less like abandonment and more like a pause. There is one more thing that the camera studies found, and it is the one that most people get exactly backwards: the return. For years, the standard advice for dogs with separation anxiety was to ignore them when you come home. Keep it calm. Don't reward the excitement. A survey of nearly 2,000 dog owners published in 2021 found that owners of dogs with separation problems actually reported using lower arousal greetings than owners of dogs without them. The calmer the greeting, the worse the separation behavior. The advice had the cause and effect exactly backwards. What the research found instead? Physical contact combined with verbal greeting, using their name, crouching down, touching them, was the only condition that kept oxytocin elevated after the interaction ended. When you come home, you are not just returning. You are triggering a measurable physiological reset in your dog's body. Cortisol drops, heart rate slows. The nervous system that has been managing your absence comes off alert.
And here is what tells you everything about the bond you have built. The speed of that reset is directly proportional to how securely attached your dog is to you. A dog with a strong, settled bond calms quickly because their nervous system trusts completely that the source of their safety has returned. A dog that takes a long time to settle after you come home is a dog whose nervous system is still processing the uncertainty of whether this return is real and permanent. The greeting matters. Kneel down. Say their name. Let the moment be a moment. You have been gone. They knew it. And now you're back. That deserves more than walking past them to check your phone.
Here is the reframe that makes all of this matter more than a checklist. You are not doing these 5 things to prevent a chewed shoe. You're doing them because your dog spends a significant portion of their life in a state that you cannot observe. And that state is being shaped day after day by choices you make in the 30 seconds before you close the door. A 2019 study measured long-term cortisol levels. Not the spike of a single bad moment, but the accumulated hormonal record of weeks in 58 dog owner pairs. The levels were synchronized. Stressed owner, stressed dog. Calm owner, calm dog. The direction of that relationship was clear. The owner's cortisol predicted the dog's, not the reverse. What this means is that the chronic stress or chronic calm of your dog's inner life tracks closely with yours. The dog that cycles through distress for 4 hours every day is not just having a bad day. They are building a baseline, a default setting for how the world feels when you are not in it.
And you have the ability to change that baseline, not through expensive equipment or complicated training programs, through a boring exit, through 20 minutes of play, through a worn t-shirt in a quiet corner, through a proper greeting when you walk back through the door, through understanding what is actually happening on the other side of that door, in the body, in the brain, in the nervous system of an animal that has organized its entire emotional world around your presence. Your dog is not just waiting for you. They are managing your absence with everything they have. The least you can do is make it a little easier. If this changed what you picture when you leave in the morning, subscribe and tell me in the comments, what does your dog do